after that, we went and walked down the long railroad tracks to two remote villages where we were able to dedicate 2 wells. And Jonathan Falwell and Vernon Brewer dedicated these wells. And then after we left there, we went to a village that had been destroyed and moved to this area many years ago that Hope of Life had kind of taken on. They had built a church, a school, and is trying to build up that community through building homes. And a gentleman from the United States donated a well for this community.
I think that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. So we were able to go there and hand out the Christmas for Orphan boxes. And that was just great to see. We package up those boxes here in the United States and we send them out. And you never really know who's getting them, or
But now you know.
Yeah, that was
really
fantastic.
Rewarding.
And I thought one of the greatest parts of it too is Jonathan was able to find the one that his daughter had actually packaged up and gave to a child. That was just a really great moment. But the children were so excited. They were so loving. We walked up, there was hundreds of them waiting in line, and they just wanted to reach out and touch you. They wanted you to hug them, and we just, it really was a wonderful experience. And then we would go back and have dinner, and after dinner sometimes the children, a couple nights the children from the orphanage came down, and they have dances that they do. They actually come to the States and travel to churches and do singing and dancing, and they did that, and then we went to bed.
So you had a really long day. It sounds like you were doing something constantly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You brought some pictures, and Phil, if you'll put the pictures up on the screen, Paula and Chris will tell us what they are.
This is the feeding center at the dump site where we went to, where we fed the 1,300 people. That's a little girl walking back through the dump site to the dump site to collect things with her food and drink that was provided. This is the water supply that at the village where we dedicated the 2 wells that was contaminated. And these are some of the precious children and women that actually lived at this site where the wells were.
They were waiting for the well to gather fresh water for the first time. And these are the children playing in the well, and they had such a good time. They were laughing and smiling and getting wet and throwing it on each other. And these are the children that were waiting in line for their Christmas for Orphan boxes. It was hundreds. I don't know how many it was, but it was hundreds of them. And then they had another line of parents who were there to collect their supply of food for half of the month.
Such beautiful faces on these kids.
They are. They're just absolutely beautiful, and they're just as sweet as they are beautiful.
Happy.
Yeah, they really are. We could learn a lot from these children, and we did.
Christmas for Orphan boxes that we were able to hand out to the children.
And this is another village where we went and handed out the 15-day food supply.
Are they waiting in line for that?
They are waiting in line, and they have tickets. And the villages that we visited, in order to get tickets, you have to send your children to school. And that's how the Christmas for Orphan boxes were handed out too. These children had tickets, so they had to attend school to receive those. So they really are encouraged. That's the way they encourage the children, the parents, to send their children to school. There's a couple of gentlemen that got their food supply, and you can see it's really not a lot of food, but it's
last how long? I'm sorry.
15 days.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, it really is.
They get the mission Hope of Life. They feed how many villages was it? 50-some villages, I believe, every day.
It was an astronomical amount of people, and really just trying to figure out how they did that in a day. But there's a lot of villages in need of of food. And they also they have chickens running around. We didn't put any pictures, but they do have chickens with eggs and things like that they can eat too. But this young boy is standing in front of his house. This is his house. And this is what all their houses look like. You know, they were made out of anything they could find from the dumpster, plastic, metal. You can see that the roof is being held on by trees that they had tied together and put on top, so they don't have nails. And
you can imagine when it's like the hurricane that they're getting right now, and just the flooding. If you live in that house, just what you're facing basically.
Your house is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
pretty much.
absolutely. And they're mud. The floors are mud. It's all mud. There's very little trees. The next picture will show the air. There's no trees. It's just all dirt and mud.
And these are all houses that people live in.
And you can see the fencing, and that's where they have their plot of land, and they just put like a barbed wire fence around it to designate it as their own. And these barrels that you see in this village, they actually delivered dirty water to this village, and they had to pay for it. And they
do not have
money.
a well.
They don't have money. They actually tried to dig a well in this village and was unable to get water.
They've tried several times and unable to get water. This is a family from the States, a family of 4 that actually came down to Guatemala to build a house for a family. And something that we're hoping to do, and we are planning on doing this fall, actually.
Great. And it's for a family of 12, so 12 people are going to, but you can see that the floors are going to be concrete, and they're at least going to have a dry place to live and sleep. And they'll actually keep these shanties that that we saw previously for their kitchen, because right now their kitchen is in where they sleep, so they'll keep those shanties to use for the kitchen. So it doesn't get, it was 105 and 110 degrees when we were down there. So you can only imagine how hot it gets.
And that was in February. So.
Yeah.
This is one of the children that came up to us while we were handing out the clothing that J. Crew donated. And these children, they didn't have any shoes on their feet. You see a lot of people and a lot of in some of these pictures, they have American clothing on, and it's because they're donated by America.
Right. And I remember one point at this time, we were very busy handing out items and shoes, and the kids were just smashed one after the other. I mean, as close as they could get to each other wanting shoes. And I remember looking down, and it just, the moment just stuck in my mind of all these little bare feet that were just lined up, that were just begging for their first pair of shoes. And I think that image will always be embedded in my mind. But this little boy is Lex, and he was buried alive as an infant.
My goodness.
His mother thought that he had died from starvation as an infant, and she had buried him in the ground about a foot deep. A little girl in the village saw her do this and let an adult know, and they called the Infant Rescue Center, and they went immediately and got him. And now he is a thriving, sweet, special little boy. But that's the kinds of things that this Infant Rescue Center does. While we were down there, they also had, the police had brought 2 children from a brothel to the Infant Rescue Center who was probably going to be sold. So it's really
I don't think we really realize how lucky we are,
No.
how fortunate we are.
We don't. And these little boys are from the orphanage, and they were great. That little puppet right there, I walked off the bus with that puppet. My mom had actually sent it to the orphanage, and that little boy grabbed it out of my hand, and he probably still has that puppet on. But they had so much fun. They were so happy. We just had such a great time at the orphanage. And the little boy that's in the back grabbing the puppet, when we left, he cried like a baby. He did not want us to leave. And it was really heartbreaking. But what Hope of Life is doing for these children is just such a blessing. And it's just amazing what one person's vision and dream can do, and how many lives it can change.
Do you go to, well, before I say that, in listening to you talk about the water situation there, I thought, I will never complain about being on James River water in the middle of a drought again. We're so fortunate to have that
Yes,
when
we
these
are.
people have no water. I mean, it's just...
And
it's
we
just-
want to drink out of the bottle, you know. We
I
don't
know.
want to drink out of the well, or, you know.
Well,
And that, well.
we're very fortunate.
Yes, we are.
I wanted to ask you, did you go to New